hello everyone. In this video, I am fortunate enough to chat with one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, the amazing Sam Mendes. He needs absolutely no introduction. We're here to talk his newest film, Empire of Light, which comes out on January 9th. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well. I'm really nice to meet you, Daniel.
Dude, it's nice to meet you as well. It's always nice to talk. Is this true? You're a fellow Garth Ennis fan?
I am. Yes. Yeah. Big Preacher fan. I tried to make a movie of it. We had the rights for a while and then we couldn't do it. And someone else did it better. As that's what usually happens. And yeah, it was great. I love the series.
Dude, I can see that in your work, I think. And some I've noticed that Garth Ennis does in his work that I can also see in your work is that character is always at the forefront of his story and stuff like The Preacher and, of course, The Boys. And in your work, I feel it's the same. In something like Jarhead, it would have been easy to have gotten wrapped up in tanks and gunfights and something like that. But I feel like it's hard to tell about characters and the people that are involved in a war like this. And in something like Road to Perdition, it would have been the same. You could have gotten wrapped up in hitmen and guns and all that, but it's a tale of a father and son to me. Is Empire of Light the same? Do you feel like Empire of Light is a film with character at its forefront?
Yeah, I think all of them. I mean, I try and for me, the interesting thing is human beings, and even when I did Bond, I tried to humanize James, as best I could, and lucky, and I suppose that's one of the reasons I did it is I felt there was an actor there who could make him more interesting and deeper as a character.
Yeah.
I mean, Road to Perdition, of course, is based on a graphic novel,
Yeah.
and I'm a big fan of graphic novels, and I think that one of the interesting things about that movie and Jarhead is that they're unconventional stories working within a genre. You've got Road to Perdition is a gangster movie on the surface, but actually it's a really unconventional father-son story, sort of two levels. You've got Paul Newman fathering Tom Hanks, and you've got Tom Hanks, fathering his own son in the movie. And then in Jarhead, what struck me as fascinating about that was a war movie about a character who never fires a gun.
Yeah.
How is that possible? And how is that a story about contemporary warfare, which is as much to do with dealing with boredom and dealing with yourself and the demons that you have as it is to do with the enemy, who is the enemy in that circumstance. So all that stuff was what made it interesting in the first place. And it's the unconventional nature of the story, I suppose.
Yeah, and what's great about Empire of Light is that you didn't have to shoot it in one take. You didn't have to shoot the whole thing in one consecutive take. You could kind of, was it nice to go back to that, to just regular cutting? Is that something you have no intentions of ever doing again?
It was weird, actually, because when I was making 1917, I thought, why would you make a movie any other way than this? This is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, because, there is, you think it's time consuming, but it's not
Yeah.
nearly as time consuming as having to cover a scene in multiple takes, multiple setups, and it was interesting because people, when I made the movie, the people I suppose who were suspicious of it or who didn't like it so much were like, well, isn't it a bit of a contrivance? And you're like, no,
Yeah.
the contrivance is editing. The contrivance is you're made to believe you're in the room with these characters, but really, if there's cameras everywhere. There's a camera over his shoulder, her shoulder, over there on the two shot, outside the window. If you think about it, it's the whole of movie making is a contrivance. It's a trick to make you believe you're in the room with them. But the
Yeah.
moment you think, well, where are the cameras? There's a camera over everybody's shoulder. 1917, on the other hand, it was not a contrivance. It's basically following an unbroken ribbon of action, which is much less contrived than conventional movie coverage. But we're so used to movies looking like that
Yeah.
that we consider that to be the norm. But the truth is, if digital filmmaking had existed 100 years ago, you didn't have to cut. There was no necessity, as there is with film, of course. You only have 10 minutes in a mag to
Yeah.
cut. Then lots of movies would have been made like that.
Dude, that's fascinating. But yeah, man, I'd say it's nice to have a break just to go back to how it regularly is, not 6 minute consecutive scenes as something like that. But no, another thing I'd love to ask you. I mean, you look at the start of your career, you start with American Beauty, you win an Academy Award. Was there ever an air of, I mean, I speak as someone who's yet to win an Academy Award, but was there ever an air of
Only a
pressure?
matter of time, Daniel. I can feel it.
This interview is getting me to the big leagues. Was there ever a matter of pressure, or is that the right word? Am I articulating that right with the
Yep.
rest of your work? Because you're like, oh yeah, okay, well, I won an Academy Award for the first one. How hard can doing another film that's on that level be? And does that carry over to Empire of Light? Do you still feel that way, or is it so long ago you're willing to say, okay, I'll just make the films I want to make and
Yeah,
put
I
them
think
out
it's
there?
too long. I think that I felt that pressure. Yeah, it's a good question. I felt it for 10 years probably. That feeling that, that there can only be one way here, it's down. You know what I mean? How can you possibly top that? Um, and you go through times. I mean, listen, I was very fortunate, and I'm thrilled that I got an Academy Award, and it's given me, opened all sorts of doors for me. But there was a time when I thought, hang on a minute,
Yeah,
I wanted to make the movie, but I didn't want to necessarily have all this thrust upon me. It wasn't my choice. And you do feel during those times when, if you're lucky enough to be up for awards and stuff, that it's out of your control. It's just, you feel powerless, and as
sure.
if someone else is bestowing this on the movie, and so you have to divorce in your mind the film itself and the phenomenon of the film. People at a certain point with American Beauty were reviewing not the movie, but the fact that the movie had been so popular, the fact that it had won awards.
Really?
Well, because they were saying, you made a movie about, this is a movie about America, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, we didn't go sit down before making a movie. We're going to make a movie about America. We
Yeah.
thought the movie was going to do nicely, take $15 million. And if we were lucky, it would get nominated for best cinematography. That was basically honestly, that is what we felt. I'm not being sort of wise after the event. The fact that it was going to become this thing was totally blindsided all of us, and me in particular.
Yeah.
For 10 years, you're making the decision to continue to learn, but
Sure.
you're learning in the spotlight, and everyone's going to be scrutinizing it, and everyone's going to be comparing it to American Beauty. The thing that broke me out of that was doing Bond, which didn't appear to be asking for anything except to be treated as a great Bond movie, a genre film. It released me in a way to not worry about all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And after that, everything felt much more easy in a way. Easy is the wrong word. Less pressured in
Yeah.
terms of awards and stuff. And so in 1917 did very well, and that's helped. So I don't feel that level of pressure. But of course, every movie brings a bunch of pressure now because
because it all hurts every single day.
Yeah.
Well, there, lovely. That for aspiring directors out there, hear this from Sam Mendes. Every single day it hurts. Dude, let me ask you this. I mean, I know you talked about this film being a love letter to cinema. Obviously, as a filmmaker, when your profession is cinema and you're making a film that's lovely, I think we all have different definitions of cinema. I mean, I know I mentioned this to you in my initial message, but both my parents are deaf, and film has always been a great thing because it's a visual medium. We could always watch it. And by the way, shout out to my parents, Simon and Donna, who let me take the day off school to do this interview. So that's cushy. But let's
Thank you,
keep
Simon and
going.
Donna. Yeah, thank you. Well,
A nice way to spend. But no, my last question before I let you go, because this film celebrates cinema, would you say it's your most personal film of everything you've done?
yes, but it's not because it celebrates cinema that it's my most personal. It's because a lot of it is about a very personal memory. So Hilary, the character that Olivia Colman plays, is based on my mother. My mother struggled with mental illness when I was growing up, and so does Hilary. And so for me, it's a way of addressing those memories in my own past, and the kind of mad heroism of those struggling with mental illness, and the outsiders. And it does say something about movies, but really it's about how, if you're broken, as Olivia Colman's character is in this movie, and as Micheal Ward, who's also an outsider in the movie, that movies can help put you back together again, can help heal you. And I do believe that art is if for an escape for a lot of us and a way of healing for a lot of us. And it's a very cynical time we live in, and it's a very romantic point of view. And in many ways, but it's something I believe in, which is that, art is something that makes life worth living. And at a time when what we've been concentrating on mostly with COVID is staying alive, it's worth being reminded what we've been staying alive for.
Sam, what a pleasure it's been chatting with you. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to chat with you.
I'm thrilled on two levels. One, I get to talk to you. Two, I got you the day off school. So congratulations.
We're 2 for 2, baby. What can I say? And this is better than winning an Academy Award. So, I mean, I'll see the film opening day. Thank you guys so much. Sam, have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.
Take care, Daniel. See you.